This week, the panel breaks down all the breaking news, including the Department of Government Efficiency, or DOGE, going to work on the Office of Management and Budget. Is the Department of Education next? Then CBS News becomes the latest news outlet to surrender to Donald Trump's legal challenges, and the Democrats, meanwhile, pick a brand new party chair, but it's not without some difficulty. These stories and a whole lot more straight ahead this week on The Lion Week in Review. Welcome into this week's edition of The Lion Week in Review. It's a weekly look at the culture, the courts, your state capitol, and your kids. I'm Chris Stigall. Now, let's meet our panel. Some of the men behind the stories at readline.com, because it's only the fellas this week. Michael Ryan's our executive editor, and Adam Wittenberg is our deputy editor at The Lion. Gentlemen, welcome to you both. We've got a lot to do today. Before we get into some of the stories you've written, this is a constant. Donald Trump is a fire hydrant of news every single day, literally as we talk, as we're speaking. It appears that Trump has pledged a ban, an official executive order ban, on biological males in women's sports. It's something he's long planned and pledged to do. Adam, your thoughts?
Yeah, well, this was something that he campaigned on. And like many things, Trump is saying he's doing what he said he was going to do. He's keeping his promises. And one of the things I really like about Trump when he issues these orders is he uses common sense terms and common sense language. He's not afraid to just say it in black and white. Men don't belong in girls' sports. We're not going to do this. This is a violation of basic principles. And I think a lot of Americans like this return to common sense, decency, order, and kind of the foundational bedrocks of society.
And Michael, he's also made it pretty clear, while I don't think as of this taping he's done it yet, but they believe he's going to move to the Department of Education next. He has pledged to dismantle that as well. These are two things we've talked a lot about on this show.
Yeah, Trump is moving so fast, his critics don't have time to be angry. They have to move to every different topic every hour to be angry. In terms of banning boys and men in women's and girls' sports and bathrooms and locker rooms, elections have consequences. Obama himself said that. And Biden was in the process of rewriting Title IX to force schools to allow boys and men on girls and women's teams. And now you got an absolute U-turn with Trump. And as Adam said, he's doing what he promised to do, which was to basically say that you can't do that either under Title IX or with federal money.
One of the most amazing things to watch this week has been the Democrats trying to figure out their best line of attack against Trump. It seems like Elon Musk is where they're putting all of their cards. They believe that attacking Elon Musk's work with DOGE, going after USAID, and this grant funding, which I know you guys have written about, Adam, at The Lion. It seems Democrats, that's where they're targeting, but I don't know if the American public is interested in hearing it.
Yeah, well, much like the election that we just had, Democrats were going off about social issues and transgender rights and sex changes for prisoners, and Americans are like, I can't pay my bills. And inflation, which is totally the fault of the Biden administration, was out of control. So I don't expect that the Democrats will get much traction, much sympathy, or really much of anything for crying about not wanting to spend $22,000 on a transgender comic book in Peru. U.S. tax dollar money going for these things. I think it's a win for Trump and Musk and anyone else, Rubio, who's standing up and saying, no, we got to end this insanity.
Adam, Michael, do you think that Elon Musk as the bogeyman is going to work? They continue to hammer that he's the shadowy figure accessing your personal data. Is that going to take with the American public?
I don't think in the long term. I read once that the largest living organism was like a grove of, I think, aspen trees. And then another time I saw it was like a giant mushroom that was all interconnected. No. The largest living organism in the world is left-wing dark money. And there's even a book about that called Arabella. And it talks about this vast network of left-wing organizations and all the dark money that's going through there. And they're even raiding the Treasury, your tax dollars, to do it. Biden, under the Biden administration, $38 billion was sent to foreign NGOs to do this sort of thing. And basically what they're doing is a giant, in my opinion, left-wing psyop to change the way Americans think about all the pet issues on the left, from climate change to DEI to illegal immigration and so forth. And it's all using federal money. It's using dark money from the private sector. It's using hijacked federal programs. And it's using a vast network of these NGOs.
And to that point, Adam, I want you to get your comment on this, because many media outlets, says Elon Musk, as we record this today, he posts on X, many media outlets are going to experience a mysterious drop in revenue. What's he talking about? Here's another post from someone called Chris Pavlowski. USAID funding corporate media is the biggest scandal of 2025. And they specifically list some media outlets that we all know by name who've been getting money through this USAID program, coming at entities like conservative media outlets, Breitbart, even, projects like ours here at the Lion.
Sure. And that's really follow the money, right? That's where you can really judge what's going on. Why do they need to attack Elon Musk so harshly? Well, he bought Twitter, which is now called X, and he's not a slave to this funding need that the legacy media and everyone has. The point I wanted to make to what Michael was saying earlier is I think he's absolutely right. This underpinning of dark money, this web of NGOs and funding sources. And what I wanted to add is it's not just a psyop on the American people to turn them leftist and progressive. The USAID or USAID wing has been shipping this progressivism and all these warped viewpoints globally. And so again, the leftists kind of have this globalist agenda. They want America and the whole world to fall in line with these progressive ideals and things that more than half of Americans don't support, and they're using your money to do it, which is so scandalous. And then the media is being propped up by more of this money, so of course they're not going to report on it. They don't want to cut off their funding source. I read online we were funding the BBC, like America's the second largest funding, a British broadcasting corporation, and which is well known for being on the left side of things. So it's good this is being exposed. Elon is a threat because he's actually telling the truth, and he's exposing these things. I think he's a bit of a hero, in my opinion.
It's stunning. I'm just looking at some of these charts. I mean, they're quite literally, as we're recording this in the middle of the week. It's not just Politico. The Associated Press has been raking in millions of dollars, Michael, in government money for years. And the charts associated with this, I would commend it to anybody to just do some cursory looks. I mean, you're talking about tens of millions of dollars mainstream American media have been receiving from taxpayers.
Yeah, and you're going to see layoffs. I mean, you're already starting to see some of these organizations not being able to make payroll. The other thing playing into this is that not just financially, but also philosophically, ideologically, the legacy media are tied up in advancing these left-wing causes. So that's why you see, rather than the media jumping on all these scandals that Elon Musk is already finding in federal spending, they're actually speaking out against it, and it's just totally contrary to what the media's noble cause is, which is questioning authority.
I would turn to a couple of his appointments, too. Again, this is amazing because this is literally all happening while we're talking, while we're recording this in the middle of the week. So when folks hear it, I realize it may be some older news. But your reaction, Kentucky Senator Mitch McConnell falling down the stairs on his way out of the Senate chamber. Senators had to help him up. Someone sent that to me and said that's quite a metaphor. Mitch McConnell being one of the Republicans that seem to oppose Donald Trump's appointments, Adam.
Yeah, Trump's steamrolling with these agenda items, executive orders, and his appointments. We published a story showing that he's actually ahead of where Biden was and Trump's first term. I think he has like 9 of his appointments have already been approved. And this is despite what we've just been talking about, the liberal left-wing media doing everything possible to throw dirt on these folks and make them seem terrible. And it is disturbing that McConnell, who's super an establishment Republican, some people call him a rhino Republican in name only, and maybe he is, I don't know. But I'm not happy that he fell down. Like, I don't want any physical harm to come to him. But it would seem perhaps a bit of a metaphor that these entrenched Washington, D.C. swamp people are losing power. They're falling down in the face of the Trump onslaught and the Trump train.
It's hard to imagine being a Republican, Michael, and opposing Donald Trump right now, but there are a couple of that are still holding on. There are not as many as there used to be.
They're doing it. And back to the point about Mitch McConnell, nobody wishes any ill toward him or anybody else in Congress. But, the average age in Congress is tracked up with their bank accounts.
Yeah.
And, look at what happened with Dianne Feinstein. She obviously served way longer than she should have. And it just seems to me that there's probably scratch marks on the door jams trying to drag these people out.
Also, breaking today, Democrat Al Green in the House has filed articles of impeachment against Donald Trump, Adam, for, quote, dastardly deeds proposed and dastardly deeds done. So it's begun. Let's impeach Donald Trump again.
Yeah, well, you think they would have learned their lesson the first two times, but I think, again, this speaks to the Democrats know they'll get an audience in the media. They know if they do these, they're doing the dastardly things, and their dastardly deeds are being exposed. And so they are at their wits' end and willing to go to any length, and they'll get a lot of press on this.
Michael?
Well, I think you just got to follow the money. I mean, there's going to be a money trail following Elon Musk into this labyrinth of all this federal spending, and I think you need to follow that money. The Democrats are absolutely hysterical about all this, which makes you wonder if they're, Elon's poking the belly of their beast.
Well, I see, and again, one last one, that Elon Musk's Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE, has been working at the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services, where they have gotten access to key payment and contracting systems per the Wall Street Journal. Adam, that's a honeypot.
Yeah, and that is a sensitive issue because the Democrats always want to prey on human sympathy of, Medicare, Medicaid, it's for poor people, older folks. I mean, it is an important program. But as we know, the bigger government gets, the more room there is for corruption, there is for misuse of funds. And so my hope is that they're trying to do the right surgery or the right exposure. I don't think they want to outright end these things, but don't be surprised. You're probably going to be hearing that or already heard it in the media that, Republicans want to stop Medicare, Medicaid, and all this fear-mongering. Don't give in.
Michael?
Yeah, just in, Chris, D.C. swamp creatures are now on the endangered species list.
Yeah, it has been quite a week, just another week, and we're not even a month in to the new Trump presidency. So that's just a bunch of breaking news, literally, as we record the show. We'll take a quick break, and when we get back, we'll wade through some of the sights and sounds we've seen on cable news and on Capitol Hill. That's as the Lion Week in Review rolls on next. Stay tuned. And I welcome you back to the Lion Week in Review. Again, I'm Chris Stigall, and if you missed any of today's show, you're interested in maybe more great news and information like you're hearing today, I hope you'll regularly check out The Lion. We're online at readlion.com. We're back with Adam and Michael, and we turn to some of the sights and sounds of cable news this week, just some of them. As I said, off the top, it's been a busy breaking news week. The Democrats meeting, trying to get together to figure out what to do and who should lead them next. Let's listen in to one of their voting sessions as they try to pick a new leader this past week and get your reaction.
The rules specify that when we have a gender non-binary candidate or officer, the non-binary individual is counted as neither male nor female, and the remaining 6 offices must be gender balanced. With the results of the previous 4 elections, our elected officers are currently 2 male and 2 female. In order to be gender balanced, we must elect 1 male, 1 female, and 1 person of any gender.
Now, I mind you that this is, as they're going through the rules in their own committee about how to select a leader, they seem to be a little confused on their own rules. One more, and then I want to get both of your comments. As one of the candidates for DNC chair takes a rather interesting tact in making her pitch.
Good evening, everyone. It is my desire to be the next DNC chair, and I just want to give you all a little bit of something that's been on my heart here over the last couple of days. You fight on, you fight on. You fight on, you fight on. When your government is doing you wrong, you fight on, oh, you fight on.
So, gentlemen, Michael, we'll start with you. Ken Martin is ultimately the guy out of Minnesota they chose as their new DNC chair nationally. He's the chair of the Democrat Party in Minnesota. at present, but not before all of that you just saw. Your reaction?
Wow, why'd you call on me first? I was kind of enjoying that new program, Dems Got Talent. I really enjoy that. But, the Democrats seem not to have gotten the November 5th memo. Voters in droves are saying no to this identity politics, this obsession with race and gender, and they're doing it like in droves. So, I don't understand why they can't adjust to what happened. They're not really looking at reality. Reality is they lost in a landslide, and they're not looking at the reasons why, and this is one of the reasons why.
Yeah, Adam, to that point, we were just talking about some of the breaking news this week that Donald Trump is signing an executive order, no more biological males in women's spaces and sports. And on the very same week, the Democrats are arguing amongst themselves about making sure multiple genders, whatever that means, are represented in their leadership.
Yeah. Well, I think there's like 27 of them, so I don't know how they could elect only male and female. Maybe they're getting religion. But I also want to say, isn't it interesting that the super progressive and tolerant left elected a white male to be their chairman? And that lady could sing. African-American woman. She was even wearing a shirt with Spanish language on it. Maybe she is appealing to the Latino vote. But no, they went with a white male from Minnesota. So is it all talk, or is this real?
Donald Trump, meanwhile, continues to talk about one of the most important subjects to all of us at the Lion, as well as the Herzog Foundation. Take a listen.
Why nominate Linda McMahon to be the Education Department Secretary if you're going to get rid of the Education Department?
Because I told Linda, I hope you do a great job and put yourself out of a job. I want her to put herself out of a job. Education Department. So we're ranked number 40 out of 40 schools, right? We're ranked number 1 in cost per pupil. So we spend more per pupil than any other country in the world, and we're ranked at the bottom of the list. We're ranked very badly. And what I want to do is let the states run schools. I believe strongly in school choice, but in addition to that, I want the states to run schools, and I want Linda to put herself out of a job.
And in fact, he went on to make the case that if he had his druthers, ultimately control of education would wind up with the states. Watch.
Look, if I could give the schools back to Iowa and Idaho and Indiana and all these places that run properly, there's many of them, but most of them would be states, and you'd have one. Like in Iowa, you give it to the state of Iowa, you give it to the state of Indiana, you give it. These are really well-run states. They don't have debt, they don't have problems, they don't have any crimes, relatively speaking, to speak of. And you would have education that would be the equivalent of Norway and Denmark and various other places that are at the top of the list.
It's interesting to me, Michael, that Democrats don't really seem to be seizing on this. Trump's going out and saying he wants Linda McMahon to take over the Department of Education and put herself out of a job, and he wants state control. And I really am kind of amazed that there hasn't been a louder hue and cry about it, to be honest.
Well, you guys are going to have to help me here. I saw a video of Randy Weingarten, the head of the teachers union, talking about how education needs to be at the state and local level. Did you see that? I thought it was a deep fake.
I heard about that.
It may have
That's
been
for
fake.
real. Yeah.
But it looked real to me. She's making Trump's point here. Look, we had a story recently about the fact that parenting matters. We had a story that said there were some 450 studies that funneled into this conclusion that parenting matters. It's parenting that is the key to the education of a child. And when I was first with the Lion, I did a column on whether Christian school students are sheltered from the outside world. What I found was they're sheltered from the bad, but not the good.
Adam?
Yeah, I very much like Trump's point. I was getting the picture of like taking this gorilla, a 500-pound gorilla, off the back of the states and really empowering competition, freedom, and innovation. Now, we are seeing some of that as 13 states now have universal school choice, and there are very differing standards among the states and how they do things. I I defend Trump's pick of McMahon because she's a businesswoman. She does have a history in education. It wasn't her whole life, but you can read more about that. We've published some articles. But I think, like Trump, she's a business lady, ran a very successful business with her husband for decades, and is able to accomplish a goal. And that's the difference, that Trump and many Republicans have a goal of actually making change, making things better. I think most Democrats, the goal is to grow, expand, and maintain the size of government.
Over at the USAID headquarters, all of these folks have effectively been sent home by the Trump administration, and they have handed control of USAID, this government grant agency, over to Marco Rubio, Secretary of State. The Democrats, as we talked about earlier, decided to hold a big public press conference outside and voice their opposition to the decision. Here's Elizabeth Warren.
Now, no one elected Elon Musk to nothing.
That's right.
Not one Democrat in America voted for Elon Musk.
Not one.
Not one Republican in America voted for Elon Musk. Not one independent in America voted for Elon Musk. Not one libertarian in America voted for Elon Musk. Damn, not one vegetarian in America voted for Elon Musk. And yet, Elon Musk is seizing the power that belongs to the American people. We are here to fight back.
Ooh, Michael, here's another story on USAID, by the way, which she was out there screaming about, paying millions, they have now discovered, for the celebrity visits to Ukraine to increase Zelensky's popularity amongst the American population. So does that help us understand why the hysterics?
Yes, but also I think the hysterics are a show. And I think they're a show because they're trying to personalize this rather than talk about policy. The personalization of politics is all that the Democrats seem to have right now. I saw a Politico article talking about Donald Trump's fights with national media and fights that he's winning in court week after week. And Politico writes about Donald Trump's antagonism toward the media. Excuse me, I don't think it's Donald Trump. I think it's about 60 or more % of the U.S. public that finds the media distrustful. And that there's been actually a stock market crash in media credibility since 1972, when about 70% of Americans trusted the media. It's now down to about 30.
And Adam, isn't that the point? All of these disruptive figures that Trump has hired, they're all great at explaining what they're doing. They're all great communicators, and it seems like they're going around all the traditional channels of mainstream media to tell the American public what they're up to.
Yeah, the Democrats are losing control. They're losing their meal train because some of this funding was propping up their programs and the media. I'd also like to point out to Elizabeth Warren that you and the other Democrats seem to have no issue when almost senile Joe Biden was in office and unelected folks were running our country through his pen, and he was signing things he didn't even know what he signed, according to Mike Johnson. And I think many people knew this guy's not really in control of the country. Unelected, shadowy figures propped up by big money or big influence were running our country for 4 years, and you didn't raise a peep about that. But Elon Musk comes in, he's public about what he's doing. He's not shadowy at all. And Trump's public about it. He's been public from before he was elected. And so this personal politics and trying to do all this stuff, it's a mirage. It's not real.
Lady Gaga won a Grammy this past week, and the celebrity culture, such that it is, these shows such as they're watched, not many these days, the ratings for these are generally down. Here was part of her acceptance speech.
It is a privilege to be a songwriter and a producer, a musician. It's such an honor to sing for all of you. And I just want to say tonight that trans people are not invisible. Trans people deserve love. The queer community deserves to be lifted up. Music is love. Thank you.
Michael, trans people are not invisible. The queer community deserves lifting up. Her words, not mine. I never have used that word, actually, but I guess that's how we refer to the LGBTQ community, queer community. I should mention Donald Trump has a gay Treasury Secretary. an openly gay Treasury Secretary, among a few others in his cabinet. But I digress. Your reaction?
Well, I think a lot of people out there would take issue with the assumption that transgenderism is love. A lot of people believe that transgenderism is not loving children and that they need to be taken care of rather than just buy into the notion that you can switch genders whatever age you are. It's a good thing, because a lot of people are detransitioning, and they can tell you what a horror it was.
Adam, briefly.
Yeah, why is this getting so much press right now? I mean, I do think she's giving into the fear-mongering. Trump's not super anti. I mean, he's just for common sense. And why is this so important these days when I don't get the rationale behind it.
Guys, thank you. When we get back, our favorite part of the week, because we get to tell you what our favorite stories are at readlion.com. The panel picks them next. Stay tuned. Welcome back to the Lion Week in Review. Our panel wraps up the week by telling us their favorite stories that they think you ought not miss, stories you ought to pay extra close attention to. We start with Michael Ryan.
I think there's a huge subtle shift going on in the country regarding abortion and pro-life. The story that we've run, headline is Pro-Life Polling is Strong. 2/3 support restrictions on abortion. And it seems that Trump has turned the tide on this issue, and the tide needed turning for the pro-life side. Almost every ballot issue, if not every ballot issue since Roe v. Wade was overturned, went to the other side. And pro-lifers are having trouble persuading the rest of the country. They need to be able to persuade the rest of the country. It didn't work in Kansas. Missouri just passed a constitutional amendment allowing for abortion, and the state legislature is looking at how they can undo that.
And I'll say, with the news of Pam Bondi's confirmation at DOJ, we now know about 5,000 FBI agents were involved in investigating January 6th. I wonder how many of them we're going to come to find were targeting Catholics. Pro-life folks praying outside abortion clinics, as well as school board meetings. That's going to be interesting to see what comes out of DOJ, Michael.
Yep, it is.
And Adam, your favorite stories of the week?
Yeah, I'm going to go with the dark money story by our reporter, John Ransom. And again, you may not be super into politics, but this is worth a read. And it's called Trump's Federal Grant Freeze Aimed at Stopping Foreign and Domestic Dark Money in Policy and Politics. He just does a good and common sense job of breaking down why, where this money's going, why it's not a good thing, and kind of what Trump is looking to do about it.
I tell you, with the volume of news coming out of the Trump administration almost every day, including this day that we record this show, we could probably do one of these shows every day. But I will tell you this, every single day and all day long, this constant breaking news, you can find it at readlion.com. I hope you'll go there. That'll do it for this week's show. Be sure to keep up to date, as I say, on all the latest news every day from our panel at readlion.com. And, of course, if you missed any of today's show, you can check it out on YouTube whenever you like. That'll do it for all of us here at The Lion this week. Thanks for downloading the show, and we'll see you next time.